Go ahead, Jenna.
Jennifer, AP, at any time did you have flashbacks to last year in New Hampshire when you were trying to stretch the fuel there and worry that it could all blow up the wrong way?
No, I didn't. I mean, I was just worried about our interval, honestly. I mean, it's we've lost a lot more fuel mileage deals than we've ever won. I mean, so you know, you really don't have time to think about what happened a year ago. I mean, I'm listening to him and worrying more about the intervals that I got.
Let's go back here to Jay and then to Nate. Or does that gentleman have a question? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Dave Markland, WJOL, Tony. Third win at Chicagoland, 40 years old, 40th win. It looks like you're going to have a good year the rest of the year. Do the numbers mean anything to you? Do you play the numbers game at all?
I hope it doesn't mean I have to wait till I'm 41 to get another win. Because that's going to suck, having to wait and get one a year. But, you know, I'm proud of that. I mean, and you know, after hearing what Kerry said, I mean, to be tied with Mark Martin, that's a huge honor in this sport. So, you know, Mark's one of the guys that's been one of my mentors and somebody that's on my top 5 on my hero list. And I'm probably most proud of that fact after winning today than anything. It's, you know, he's somebody I've got a lot of respect for and a lot of admiration for, and wish I could be more like him. But, you know, that's pretty cool to be sitting here and be tied with him in the all-time record book. It's pretty neat.
Go to Jay and then across to Nate. Go ahead, Jay.
Jay Hart, Yahoo Sports. Tony, you just said that you know where we're at in the chase right now, we had to press. At 12 points, it doesn't seem, you know, first race doesn't really seem from this perspective that you're in a press situation at that point. Can you kind of explain that a little bit more?
Well, we were tied for 9th in the points or whatever, so we had nowhere to go but up. So, you know, what are we going to lose if we take a gamble and it doesn't work? You know, we really weren't taking a gamble, but I mean, I was more worried about getting the win than I was worrying about what was going to happen if we didn't win the race. So, you know, we had nowhere to go but up, so we could put that pressure on those guys. And you know, it's still 10 weeks, but I mean, we needed every point we could get today, because we may not, you know, we may have an off week in the next 9 weeks, so we're going to need everything we could get right now.
So is it the kind of situation where you're just kind of thinking about it was a win or nothing there at that point?
It wasn't win or nothing, but I mean, we ran hard enough to get to the lead, and if we ran too hard getting to the lead and ran out, I mean, there was a chance that they were going to run out too. But you know, we weren't going to be any more conservative than those guys were. I mean, we were going to push them to make the decision to have to save fuel.
Go ahead, Nate.
Nate Ryan, USA Today. I guess for both Tony and Darian. Tony, you said Thursday that it was going to take a revelation to kind of get through these last 10 weeks and become a title contender. Did that happen this weekend, or did it happen today? Because despite having won, it seems like you guys are still pretty subdued about the impact of the victory.
One day doesn't change the whole season. So, I mean, like I said, we still got, same thing I said a minute ago, we got 9 races that we got to go through still, and we got to, I mean, today's an awesome day. I'm very proud of what Darian did. I'm proud of our guys, but, you know, we got 9 more hard weeks, so, you know, this is 1 of 10. So there's a lot that can happen and a lot that has to happen. So, you know, unless you guys know what the future is, I can't really answer that accurately.
Darian, any comment on that, Darian?
Yeah, you say we're subdued, but if you hadn't realized, that's kind of the way we are every week. We come in every week trying to be the fastest race car and doing everything to do to get the best finish we can get. And obviously today it all worked out in our favor, and we're going to try to do the same thing next week. We don't get a chance to celebrate too much. We got to be at the shop tomorrow morning getting ready for New Hampshire. So we got a lot of hard work ahead of us, 9 more weeks to keep doing the same thing we're doing. You don't want to have too big a high and too big a low.
Dustin, do you have a question? Go ahead.
Dustin, along Landmark Newspapers for either one of you. You know, I know Tony said you had to press today. Now second in points, 7 points behind. Obviously, still a long way to go. But how do you maintain that, or does that change, or how do you convince yourself to continue to press based on how well it worked today?
If you look at it just with the competitors we're racing against, those other 11 guys, you have to press every week. If you're not going to compete with those guys, because one of those 11 is going to be pressing a little harder than you are. You hope they press their luck a little bit too much, but you just got to be on top of your game and get every position you can get and every point you can get, because it's going to matter when it's all over.
So at the end of the day, you didn't do anything really different?
No, not at all.
Jim Utter right over here to your left.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer, for Tony and for Darian. And this was kind of a surprise last year in the Chase opener that so many people took chances. Were you surprised, Tony, that so many of your fellow Chase contenders gambled on the gas deal and several of them came up short? And Darian, were you surprised that several other teams did the same thing?
It really wasn't a gamble, though. It's just the way the race laid out and the way the cautions fell, so that's the lap we had to pit on. The only other thing you could do is be the conservative guy and come in and pit because you don't want to try to save any fuel, but you knew you were going to be a lap down then. So it's not really a gamble. It's just a call that had to be made considering the laps that were run.
It's hard for me on my side, knowing I saw more what Matt and Jimmy were doing. I didn't really know what the scenario was with everybody else as far as whether they could make it or not. I mean, I was just all I could analyze were the guys that we were around at the time.
Go ahead.
Tony Stangenota, WJOL. It seems like this team took off after the announcement you were going to add a third team. Was that a little bit of a hampering until that announcement was made, and after that a little weight off your shoulder and let you able to focus more on driving the car and less of the owner aspect?
No, definitely not. I mean, it doesn't affect the decisions that are made day in and day out to make the 14 car and the 39 car competitive. So, it's ironic that it happened there, I guess, but it didn't have any bearing on how we run the race team.
Joe, do you have another question?
Oh, thanks. Tony, when you got kind of ticked off there and, said there were a bunch of idiots around driving around you, what specifically was, making you angry there? And is that sort of a byproduct of the chase that everybody was kind of scrambling a little earlier maybe than they would normally?
Nah, because it wasn't even chase guys. It's guys that didn't make the chase. But, just wasn't a lot of give and take there. I mean, there were a lot of times when it was obvious that guys were quicker than others early in the race, and instead of using the etiquette that we've had forever, it's I don't think you're going to see that etiquette anymore. I mean, I think it's just dying off. I think guys don't care whether they make anybody mad on the racetrack or not. They're going to do what they want to do, and they're only solely worried about themselves. So, we're going to start adopting that attitude. I mean, I'm tired of being a guy that gives a guy a break and then the guy doesn't do it in return, or the guy puts you in a bad situation. And we were put in multiple bad situations by guys that I got a lot of respect for and that are friends of mine. So I'm just going to adapt to their style. I mean, I'm not going to fight 42 guys to try to convince them to do the right thing. They don't want to do the right thing, so we're just going to do it their way. It's a lot easier just to not care about anybody but ourselves, so that's what we'll do.
Tony Stangenota again, following up on that one. Do you feel these younger guys are a little bit more fearless? They aren't earning the veteran drivers' respect. They're just coming out here and thinking it's all for them, some of these young guys?
I don't know. I think in their minds they respect them, but I don't know that. When you had Dale Earnhardt around and stuff, you learned if you weren't doing the right thing, and Dale Jarrett and Rusty Wallace, they would teach you if you were doing something wrong at the wrong time, and it's you see what happens now. You take somebody out, they get their car fixed, they come out, and their sole goal is not to just go ahead and finish it out and get the points they can get. Their sole purpose of coming back on the racetracks to ruin your day. So it's just the attitude of everybody on the racetracks changed. I mean, the ante, I guess, has gone up. So, it's it was a part of the sport that I liked because I liked the respect that guys gave each other, and there's still guys that do. I mean, you still got guys like Matt Kenseth and Jeff and Jimmy and Harvick, and there's still guys that do. But the funny thing is, the guys that don't do it are the guys that don't have good days all the time, and they haven't figured out that if you work with everybody, that everybody else will work with you. But you got to do what everybody else is doing, and there's a handful of guys that we still know will race us with respect, and that's why those guys end up front every week. It's our advantage that those guys are the only few guys that know how to do it.
Jenner.
Tony, I saw in your TV interview you said you weren't feeling well yesterday. What was wrong? And I guess the rain bought you a day. Would the outcome have been different if you had to race yesterday?
I've been battling a migraine for a day and a half. I mean, it started about an hour before we qualified on Saturday. So, we battled that a lot, actually. I mean, there's a lot of weekends we have it, but, we've raced with them before. It's not fun, but, I mean, it really, I can't say that I remember that it's actually affected us in the car. I mean, and you get out of the car afterwards and you feel like you want to get hit by a train and make you feel better, but it definitely, it seemed like once the weather came through last night, about 11 o'clock, it finally broke a little bit and finally got a good night's rest. So it definitely didn't hurt us having that extra day for sure, but I don't know that would have mattered yesterday if we ran.
More questions? Nate?
I know ultimately it's more about the car than about the history, but 13 straight seasons now, you've never had a season in Sprint Cup with going winless. Does that mean a little bit to you that you extended that today? Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it would have been hard to take at the end of the year to break that string. I mean, it's I had a long string in USAC of winning a race every year for like 15 or 16 years there. So I don't know how many guys can say that they've won in every year that they've competed in the series. So that's something I'm really proud of, and I've had two great teams that have helped me do that.
Tony and Darian, congratulations on today's win, and good luck next week at Loudon.